Oh, we have time. I forgot. Oh, they haven't even done the lineup yet on here. Hey, it looks cool in there.
We talked to him earlier today. He likes the idea of the cat curtain. He likes the idea of the curtain of distraction.
I'm gonna close this door. Should I close this?
Yeah, close.
Okay. Are you good?
Yeah. So much more peaceful without that.
Over under 2.5 Lieber talks. I mean, it's probably not really picking this up, but still.
Flip it up real quick. Because Catherine says that might mute it.
You ready? It doesn't mute it. I know it doesn't.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Bulldog Report inside the broadcast booth for some cold winter basketball here on a nice Wednesday in January. Jared Popek and Luke Krumholz, Jacob Krumholz will be joining us in a little bit inside the broadcast booth. And well, this is going to be a great game. I'll go to Luke first. Luke, how are these two teams shaping up?
This is looking like Bulldogs won earlier. Bulldogs won earlier this year. It's really looking for a good close game today. The Bulldogs we're looking for a nice Bulldogs strong start for the strong game for the Bulldogs.
Well, South River was first to draw blood on the other end. Now the ball's down in South River's end of the court. South River taking it back up after a missed layup by Josie Gray. And South River, again, drawing first blood. These two teams are very good. They're very close in the standings. Metuchen sitting very pretty right now at a second place in the GMC Blue Division, but South River is creeping up right behind them. So this is a very important game. South River 3rd place in the GMC Blue Division. Two very good teams here. They already met earlier this year, but we'll get to that later, maybe at the halftime report and a little halftime Jake down with Jacob Krumholz. Sam Pfeiffer puts up the 3, and that one's no good. Over to Vicky Zanecki down low. And this one's back out to Polakowski. Josie Gray will settle it just near half court, and Sam Pfeiffer will settle it down. 6:45 to go, 2-0 in favor of South River early here, and a very cold winter day in Metuchen. Passes ricocheting around. Vicky Zanecki settles over to Josie Gray. Puts it up, and that one's no good. South River will take it the other way. Natalia Vera Cruz coming down the timeline. Back out and around. Marilyn Orellana puts that one up, and that one will also be good. So now it is 4-0 in favor of the Bulldogs. Well, I woke up this morning, looked at my watch, and, well, it felt like 3 degrees outside. It didn't even crack. Feels like 10 here in Metuchen. It's a very, very cold winter day. So hope you enjoy some basketball, maybe from the comfort of the heat of your own home. I know it's been definitely troublesome, the storm that we've had, and we're getting another storm on Thursday, and apparently I'm your weatherman now. But let's get back to the game. So South River taking it back up the timeline, and Metuchen has yet to draw points. South River settling it up top. Ashley Pereiro with the ball. And it looks like we have a travel here, so this will come back to Metuchen. So, of course, these two teams have already met. We talked about this a little bit, but, you know, head-to-head, these teams have traded battles. This division is a little bit weird, but Metuchen played their first game of the season against South River, and they beat them by 15, 43-28. So definitely a convincing win for Metuchen, but, of course, that was the first game of the season. A lot has changed since then, and Metuchen has honestly been spectacular since then. We'll also get to that later in the broadcast, but something we've noted is they have not really lost recently. So this is definitely good for Metuchen, and this is one of those games that's really important. And there, again, is Madison Vitucci, and that one will go up and be good. That's 6-0 now for South River. And we have a timeout here by Coach Glutz. What do you like so far from Metuchen, and what do you dislike, Luke?
I'd say right now, I think they're just getting warmed up. I can't hold too much against them, but I think they just need to stay stronger on the defense, and they're putting shots on net. They just need those shots to fall, and that's really what we're looking for them to do, and they can easily turn this lead back around.
Right. So this last game we saw against Somerset Tech was the last game that we called here in the broadcast booth. That was something that we saw a lot of that really good passing patterns that they had, and Coach Glutz has probably been working on them for that. I think that the passing so far has just not been necessarily there. I think it's just a matter of once you start clicking, because Metuchen, we've seen once they get going, they really, really get going, and they can score a lot of points very fast.
And I think this is where Metuchen shines. They get clicking, and then they're a very endurant team. They have a very strong, deep bench that can play in this game later in later minutes and be very successful in helping the team score points. And it's just that's a high strong suit of these Bulldogs.
It definitely is, and we've seen Coach Glutz use her bench a little bit differently in different games. There's games versus the bottom half of the division where she's subbing in players almost every minute, really. We see platoon swaps, which we don't see often. She'll switch all 5 players at once, but in tight games like this, we really don't see her sub that much. It's very nice that she can rely on that bench, though. A little subpar ball security there will go back towards South River, and South River will be back on the offensive court, up 6-0. Passing it around the arc, and in our blind spot, we saw a shot there, no good off the rim. Now Caitlin Connors with a long pass up to Vicky Zanecki. That one will go, and she'll get fouled right under the line. We've seen Vicky Zanecki do that time and time again.
very good at drawing these fouls, very good at turning them into points for the Bulldogs. Let's hope they can get on the board here.
Right, so 3:43 left in the first quarter. Metuchen looking for their first points here from Vicky Zanecki from the foul line, and there will. So 1-6 right now, 6-1 in favor of the South River Rams, but we've seen something insanely special from Vicky Zanecki so far this year, and mind you, she is only a sophomore. I was looking at this earlier today. She had almost 100 varsity points in her freshman year, now sophomore year. We're only about halfway through the season, and she already has 177 points, Luke.
That's incredible. That's an incredible stat line to have, and we're going to be seeing a lot more of a great Vicky Zanecki for years to come.
Seeing a little play there from Coach Glutz, a little trick play to get things going on the offensive end. They got the ball back after the Vicky Zanecki foul. Lucy Pilata goes up, but they'll call that a travel, so it will go back in favor of South River. But again, Vicky Zanecki has the chance to do something really great as a Metuchen ball player, and something that really not that many people do. She already has 177 points as a sophomore, 100 points as a freshman. I mean, if she continues at this pace for her junior and senior year, she could easily crack 1,000 points, let alone, is it too early to say she could possibly go to college and play basketball like this? I mean, she is something that's really special. And Metuchen is in sort of a weird scenario here with their division, because Metuchen's not a huge school, so it's hard to get recruited for college, but we have seen some breakout players in the past few years that have just been that good and have been able to do some things like Vicky Zanecki is currently doing. She has the ball back down under, and Lucy Pilata will get the ball but be fouled. That will not be a shooting foul, so we'll get it under the baseline, where Vicky Zanecki will now inbound it.
And like you were saying, with players going to, with players being able from a small school like Metuchen to go and try and play college, all it is, it's motivation for these students. These students are, we're hoping that people, such as the ones we've seen go to colleges recently, are, we hope that Vicky Zanecki has that same sort of drive.
Right.
Because when Metuchen players do work at it, they can become very successful college players.
They really can, and we're seeing something a little bit weird here from Metuchen so far. We've seen a lot of travels in this game so far. It's only the first quarter. Not that many fouls on the board, only 2 fouls, and both are against South River. So now Sam Pfeiffer will take it around the arc, pass it over to a wide-open Caitlin Connor. She puts up the shot, and that one goes in.
Bang.
Their first 3 of the day. And now Jacob Krumholz joining us inside the booth. You haven't seen much of the game so far. You were at a little choral lesson, but now we are here in the broadcast booth. Both of the Crum brothers are joining me. How are we doing, Jacob?
Oh, it's a great day here tonight. Really exciting here for the Bulldogs. Hot start. What a great 3 there. You know, little action here already. Should be a really exciting game, and I'm really excited to see how it gets down. Make sure to tune in for the Jake Down.
Yes. At halftime, we will be giving you a little halftime Jake Down. But, again, great action that you've seen so far. Before you got here, Metuchen wasn't really clicking. It seems like they're starting to get their offensive game going. Vicky Zanecki, of course, as always, drawing a foul under. She does that a lot because she is such a threat in the paint. Now drawing a foul, getting a point, and Caitlin Connors drilling that 3, like we've seen her sister do a lot last year as well. South River puts up the 3 of their own, and that one's no good. An offensive rebound, fighting for the ball is Josie Gray with her, and that one will be a foul, so South River will take it back down under the baseline.
You know, we've seen a lot of that slow start this year for the Lady Bulldogs. I mean, not so much here in 2024, but some of the early losses, you could just see like a little almost flat-footed with some turnover trouble, some problems on the offense. But really, let's see them kind of get dialed in here, right the ship. And we're already starting to see that a little bit there, Jared.
Yeah, so Metuchen drawing a foul again here. So this one's going to be a shooting foul and going to go to the charity stripe here. Will be Madison Vitucci. So we should see South River get some more points here. Although foul shooting is not as, I guess, automatic in a game like this where, you know, we've seen a little bit of fouling so far. We have 2 fouls apiece here in the first quarter, a minute 23 left, but it's going to be common throughout this game. We're going to see a lot of fouls because a lot of these teams do well in the paint, and a lot of these teams can get these easy layups, like we see a big pass there from Caitlin Connors to get down into the paint, and there you go. Ella Polakowski getting down under, and that one's no good. But a lot of those will go up for fouls and not just go in automatically.
Yeah, really good defensive effort there from South River, and there's a great three there.
Wow. And that's a great drain three by Gabriela Castellano. She's had a good season so far as a South River Ram. Down to Vicky Zanecki down low with seconds to go in the first quarter. 2 tries, no good. Third try goes out to Ella Polakowski, and some ball security there. That one will go back in the hands of South River. But Gabriela Castellano is only a freshman, and we've already called her name a little bit today, sinking a 3 there to extend South River's lead to 10, visiting Metuchen here. Lucy Pilata seeing her first minutes of the day. And this one will go back to South River. Up at the top of the arc is Madison Vitucci. She brings it over to Gabriela Castellano and into our little blind spot there in the corner, if we'll bring it over there. Up top, 10 seconds to play in the first quarter. And at the end of the first quarter, we should take a little break here, but a great quarter we've seen so far from Metuchen. The score sheet might not show it. Time to go, and that will be it for the first quarter. So, end of one, 10-4 in favor of South River. What have you guys liked so far from Metuchen, and what can they really improve on in this second quarter before they go into the locker room at halftime?
Metuchen's got they've been able to score, but I think they just need to get certain shots to fall. They're under the hoop a lot, and just to be able to make those points, I think if they had made all the attempts they had down low, they might have a lead at this point.
Right. So we saw them, make that lead in their visiting game. We didn't actually see that game because they were in South River, but they did win 43-28. So the scoring was there, and the scoring was less apparent for South River, which we've already seen 10 points on the board in the first quarter. So we should see how the rest of these quarters play out. 10-4 ball game here in the Metuchen gym. We'll be back in a second.
Both you guys, the mic closer. I would say, because I can hear it through my headphones, and I'm obviously the loudest. So just bring the microphone closer to your mouth. Right.
Back in action here on the Bulldog Report. Second quarter action here from the Metuchen gym. Metuchen on the ball first here, looking to get some big points. Caitlin Connors in the corner takes a 3. That one's no good. We already saw her sink a 3 today. Back out to Sam Pfeiffer, and she'll settle it here. Up top, and that one's for 3, no good. Ella Polakowski down low, getting a lot of shots off here. Ella Polakowski, no. Vicky Zanecki back up, and also no, but she draws a foul again.
Vicky Zanecki's been drawing good fouls today. Not as many shots have gone in as we would have liked, but that's her second drawn foul of the game, and that's helped the Bulldogs score.
Right, she is so good at that, and honestly, everyone on the floor right now has been so good at, their job, which is why Coach Glutz loves this lineup so much. We've seen Vicky Zanecki, of course, at the lineup, leading the team in points by a wide margin. The next closest is Josie Gray, who's also having a great year, a junior here for the Bulldogs, but Vicky Zanecki, a sophomore, already doing some great stuff. She's hit 100 rebounds already in this game. She had 99 entering today, and now she's officially hit 100 rebounds on her sophomore season. So this is something that it's been a few years since we've seen a player like Vicky Zanecki enter the Metuchen gym, but it's something that's great for the Bulldogs to have her for the next 2 years. South River bringing it around the bend. This one airballs, and that one is brought back up by Madison Vitucci. That one's no good, and she'll go to the line for 2 as a shooting foul.
It's just not all there yet, it seems to be. Just not all clicking, especially on the offensive side for the Bulldogs. Lots of attempts, lots of shots, especially in the paint, just not falling. And, drawing fouls is great, but you got to make the shots, Jared. And
Right.
it's something that they'll easily make the adjustment for. As we've seen all year, and especially here in 2024, what a great start to the year. And, I know the Bulldogs will, but they just have to make that little adjustment. And I know that's what Coach Glutz has definitely told them there at the end of the quarter. And I know that's what she'll be saying here throughout this quarter. Tighten this margin up here down 7. You can't let that grow bigger. Just tighten it up, make it a little crisper. And, Bulldogs really have a shot in any game, especially here tonight in a really great GMC rivalry.
Right, something that's definitely a gift that we sometimes take for granted as Ella Polakowski puts up the layup and they'll get back within 5. But something that we almost take for granted as announcers here for Metuchen is you can never count Metuchen out of a game. They are always, the games that they lose are always close. The games that they win are sometimes big, but they also have some close wins too. So it's really fortunate for us to be able to call a team like this that you can never count them out. South River, also another one of those teams that will not go down without a fight in any game. And there is Gabriela Castellano, and that is another drilled 3 for South River. So it seems like South River's shooting has been, consistent so far, but Metuchen has taken a little bit to get going. Metuchen has not normally taken this long to get going, but you never know. I mean, you can never count them out of a game. You can get it down to Vicky Zanecki like you just saw there, and that one's going to go back to them. But get some of those fouls, and like Jacob was saying, those shots have to go down if you're Metuchen, because you need to take advantage of the opportunities they're giving you. Right now, South River's giving them a little breathing room, and I think they can definitely get right back in this and probably take almost a lead, if I'm being generous here. Take a lead before halftime, which is something that you really want. Ella Polakowski puts that one up, and that one's no good. And South River will take it back up.
Yeah, just keeping the turnovers down, Jared. Just controlling the ball. It's just a great steal there.
Caitlin Connors puts that one up, and that one's no good. But, again, taking advantage of the opportunities they're giving you. There's Caitlin Connors with a steal. South River taking it back on their end, and that one will go in for points. So we're seeing South River capitalize a little more than Metuchen, which is something we didn't see in their first matchup and haven't seen too much here in this gym particularly. But, they just have to get going. I agree with you.
And really, that's the difference that's right now in this game. That's why you see a 10-point margin right here. South River goes down, they'll make the points. We've just struggled to hit some of those shots here early on. We've had the chances. We'll hit them here with Ella Polakowski here at the line.
Yeah, so this is Ella Polakowski's second time at the line. Puts this one up from the charity stripe, and that one will be no good. So still down by 10. 5:18 to go here on a cold, cold winter day in the Metuchen gym. It's 17-7 ball game. If you're just tuning in, Jared Popek on the call with Jacob and Luke Krumholz. That second one will be no good, and South River will take it back up the timeline. Dishing it over to Madison Vitucci. This one's no good, and Sam Pfeiffer will collect the rebound. Bringing it back up and goes upstairs to Lucy Pilata, back down low and over to Sam Pfeiffer. This one will go up and no good. Looking to collect her own rebound there, but that didn't work. South River capitalizing on the defensive glass here. They've rebounded very well. We've seen players like Ella Polakowski, Josie Gray, Vicky Zanecki get down low in the paint and get a lot of offensive rebounds. So it seems like they always have 3-4 chances on the ball on the offensive end, which is why they've been able to score so much. But it seems like that's just not really working today.
And, I'd really argue that's one of the most, if not the most important thing to have is really good offensive rebounding. For those of you who watch any Rutgers basketball, especially Big Ten matchups, you know how frustrating it is to watch that squad on offense. First of all, they shoot abysmally, and second of all, they just never rebound. So watching any of those games, especially in Big Ten rivalries, especially where are we, 1-3 this year in Big Ten, 1-4, it's something not good. You know that offensive rebounding is important, especially when you don't shoot well. The Bulldogs' offensive rebounding really strong. Just need to see some of those points fall here early on.
Right, I agree with you, and I think that's just something that Coach Glutz is going to have to work on. A little timeout here, and we'll take a break. 4:29 to go in the second quarter, 17-7 in favor of South River.
Who's Rutgers that?
Oh my God! It's just we really struggle in actual matchups. Like our Big Ten like our Big Ten games, we get smoked in all the time.
Yeah, I know.
Mic levels were really high there.
It's probably that.
Yeah.
Back in action here on the Bulldog Report. Just about 4.5 minutes left to go in this South River versus Metuchen game. Second quarter here puts up the 3 by South River, and that one will cash in. Ashley Pereira cashes in on a 3 there, and that will extend their lead to 13, something that we have definitely not seen in this gym so far this year. Metuchen last year 18-9. They finished second in the GMC Blue, just where they are this year, but they are a good team. They are definitely a good team. They finished 18-9 last year. They're currently second. Standings, again, are based on conference records. So Metuchen has had a lot of conference game. I believe they've only had 2 games where they have not played a conference team. This is, again, a conference team, but South River is right behind them, third in the standings. And in a game where conference record matters this much, this is a really important game for Metuchen. Let's see how they can sort of turn it around. You have a lot of time on the clock. You have 2 quarters of 8 minutes plus this 3.5 here in the second quarter to bring it back. We've only really been in action for 12 or 13 minutes. Sam Pfeiffer down low puts up the layup, and that one's good. Sam Pfeiffer with the layup, and that one will cut their lead to 11 here, starting to creep in on this lead.
That was a really pretty play there, Jared. Really crisp passing. And that's something like we just did not see a ton of earlier. Like some of the passing was just a little weaker, not as much ball movement. That's what we're really going to need to see here established here on this offense. And, that's probably what Coach Glutz was talking about there in that timeout.
Yeah, so definitely something was working there for Coach Glutz's timeout. The passing, we've been waiting to get going here. It looks like it's finally up to speed, and Metuchen is going to look to get some more points on the board. That is Charlotte Murphy down low, a new name we're calling today, and that one is no good. We've seen a lot of layups that have been contested around the rim. We've seen players like, Madison Vitucci and Natalia Veracruz that are establishing their presence down in the paint on Metuchen's offensive side, and it's helped South River get a lot of these rebounds. South River out into the corner, and that 3 is no good. Charlotte Murphy brings down the rebound, but will get fouled right there. So Metuchen will take the ball right back, and we'll do it over again.
If you're looking for a more technical description of it, this Metuchen defense is just, as we saw there, they're struggling a little bit more on that man coverage. Their man coverage is getting exploited really easily here by South River. As you see, their ball movement for South River has been excellent throughout this game. They're always finding the open man, always hitting, and then they're hitting the shot, almost like what we saw here in this gym with the boys against South River. Just they always seem to hit that open shot when they need it. And that's what we've seen so far from this South River team. Finding the open 3, knocking it down.
And watching some of these boys' games, it feels like the South River boys are almost impossible to play sometimes. When they start hitting threes, they will not stop hitting threes. It's something that I have almost never seen at a high school level, where they will literally be 100% from the field from 3. It's so weird how they are able to shoot so well, and that's a credit to the Grosby brothers. If you watched our boys varsity match versus South River a couple weeks ago, I think it was now, but the South River girls here are also pretty good at shooting. We've seen so far already 20 points on the board. Going into the half, some pressure there by Caitlin Connors, but it looks like a timeout will be called by Coach Mike Feaster. So we'll take a little break. 1 minute and 22 seconds left in this second quarter. You have some stuff to look forward to. We'll have a little halftime Jakedown in a little over a minute, and we'll talk about things, how they've gone this first half, what we're thinking about the second half, a little more, NFL playoffs we could be talking about. We'll see. So we'll be right back here on the Bulldog Report. back in action here for the last minute and change of play. South River with the ball up 11 here. A 3 from the corner is air balls, and that one will go back in the direction of Metuchen. So Metuchen has the chance to draw a little bit more blood towards this halftime, but we'll talk about things at halftime about how we've seen Metuchen's passing be a little bit subpar from what they're normally expecting. Vicky Zanecki taking it down low, and by the way, what we're expecting is very high because this team has done so well. They're 10-3 so far this season, something that is really, really good in, everything. We've seen the state rankings. A lot of PowerPoints are available with these conference games, and Metuchen currently sits third in that, so they'll host the 13 seed right now, of course, if the season ended today, and they'll be home for probably 2 matches, which is nice. South River puts up the 3. That one's no good, and Charlotte Murphy will collect it back down. Caitlin Connors in the corner brings it back upstairs to Sam Pfeiffer, where she'll settle this one, but a steal comes away and stolen right back by Ava Barish. Josie Gray Vicky Zanecki down low, over to Charlotte Murphy, over to Caitlin Connors. Down low, puts that one up, and that one's no good, going back in the direction of South River. But a little bit of passing there that we've seen, and now Coach Mike Feaster is going to take, that's the end of the half. I thought that was a timeout, but yeah, that is the end of the half. The buzzer will sound. We can't necessarily hear the buzzer, but the buzzer did sound. So now we'll take it over to the Jake down in a little bit. We have to get our crew over there and get all of our sound working, but we should be in the other room doing our halftime Jake down in just a second.
might be having some technical difficulties. It might look a little easier if you can hear it. It might be really loud now. We're just trying to work out this file with the mic for some reason. We're waiting for the technical guest to know. Alright, well, I guess we'll just keep talking. Right? Maybe I'll turn the mic off and back on. Alright, I'm gonna keep talking now. You want to go check the gain on the...
So now that we, I guess, have both mics here, we'll try and get our sound over to you.
Exactly,
But
No, it's not a jink down without some technical issues, is it?
of course, and we've had no technical issues so far, right? So here it is. So Metuchen is 7-1. I mean, these two divisional records right here are very good, but you can see how it sort of falls off after this. There's really 4 teams in contention for this title, and like Carteret is still in it a little bit. I don't see much of these standings mixing around in the second half of this season, but Metuchen is really sitting pretty.
No, exactly, Jerry. And really, like, you just want to keep foot on the gas. You want to keep it going. 7-1. You don't want to follow it back here to a team you've already beaten, especially a team you beat in play, right? So we know the girls have it in them. They've been excellent throughout 2024. They'll come back stronger. We know that Coach Gletz is an excellent coach. But all the things to say to have just a little bit of a different first half for the Bulldogs.
And Coach Gletz has just, I believe, surpassed 200 wins as a Metuchen High School basketball coach, so she knows what she's talking about, and I'd imagine she's gonna know what to tell her team here. They're seeing something that's not necessarily they're not used to, right? So they're down by 11 here entering the second half, and they were 8-0 in this recent stretch, so they haven't seen much.
And it's the classic saying, they scored 20 in the first half. Why can't we score 20 in the second half?
Right.
So it's not like out of it. 11 points for the Bulldogs. Nothing. 3 points.
And we've seen sort of something like that in college, where it's point swings, where it's like
15-0 run.
right,
15-0
right. It doesn't mean anything right now. It means, of course, something that we're down 20-9 entering the second half. Metuchen hasn't gotten out on their front foot, but they can get going. They've only scored 9 points, but we've seen them score so much.
Exactly. So that's what we have here for the girls' basketball side. Boys' basketball, we missed the live stream, obviously. Of course, last week, JFK.
And that was some more technical issues there.
More technical issues. Once again, it wouldn't be a Jake down, it wouldn't be the MHSB without a few hiccups, right?
Yeah.
So sorry we couldn't bring that to you. That was a really excellent game, wasn't it, Jerry?
It really was an excellent game, and I honestly got to watch it from the stands, which is something I don't really do often.
Sitting in that student section is really, it's something we don't get to experience a lot here.
Right.
But really fun.
Because a lot of the games where you're going to have a student section, you have, you have football and basketball, and those are the 2 biggest sports that we broadcast. So we're always in the broadcast booth. We got to see it from the student section, and Metuchen won by 20 points, something that we really have not seen from the boys as of recent at home, at least.
Yeah, it was really awesome game. The student section, rowdy, really excited. It really just a fun place to be. Make sure to check them out. Really, come pack the stands, especially for this girls team too. That's really incredible. Make sure to just show up, and that's kind of our Metuchen basketball portion of this Jake
Right.
Down. You want to talk NFL football?
Yeah, so being the Cowboys fan that I am, I guess.
Oh, yes. Tough week for Jerry.
I've not been too happy, but the Packers just flat out beat us, and Mr. Mooney is a Packers fan,
I'm
by
a
the way.
Packers fan.
So
Mr. Mooney's a Packers fan. Jake Blum, my friend Jake Blum, co-captain the golf team, is a Packers fan. And we'll just say, on behalf of all of us, better luck next year, boys.
thank you. So that's gonna do it for the Jake Down, I suppose.
And yeah, thanks for joining us. Make sure to tune in to our next home broadcast. Not exactly sure when that'll be.
It's
But make
Saturday.
sure to see it.
It's Saturday.
So have a great night. Thank you.
Are we all in our mics or now on?
We apologize for missing some of the action here in the second half, just getting right back inside the broadcast booth after that halftime takedown, but Ella Polakowski drawing first blood in this second half and cutting this lead to 9, something that we were talking about a little bit during the halftime takedown. We apologize if you really couldn't hear much. Apparently it was all static, but of course, it's not the media club or the halftime takedown without some tech issues, right? So South River getting... Wow, that went in? I didn't even realize that went in. It didn't. It
What
looked like it went off the rim, but I guess so. South River cashing in on another 3, something that we've seen from both their girls and boys teams. They can just cash in on 3s all day, something Metuchen has not really been able to see in the past couple of years. Sam Pfeiffer putting up a 3 of her own, and that one's no good. Vicky Zanecki collects it back under, puts it up. That one's also no good, and South River will take it back up the timeline.
You know, down 12 here, Jared. I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing a lot less 3s from this Bulldog squad. I know, obviously, looking for points here, but we're just going to need... We're struggling to find points here early on. I'm sure we'll start seeing a lot more working through the paint, and especially with our leading scorer, Vicky Zanecki. Expect to see a lot out of her this half, trying to really cut into this deficit, come back, and, find ourselves on top 9-0 here to start 2024.
So Ella Polakowski called for a foul there, but travel, sorry. But the last time that we've really seen Metuchen lose at all, they've been 8-0 since December 28th, 29th. The last time we saw them lose was versus Governor Livingston here. We were on holiday break, so we were not calling that one. But it is on the Bulldog Report if you do want to watch. They only scored 23 points in that game total, something that South River already has only 2 minutes into this third quarter.
Right, there's kind of a common factor in those games. You know, just we struggle with the offense. So expect to see like some pressure from this Bulldogs team, really trying to work through that leading score. As I said earlier, this is a Metuchen team that can score a lot of points. They can blow out opponents, as we've seen all year. So really, I expect to see them hit the gas, just hit the ground running here, as we've already seen Ella Polakowski there.
Right, so the pressure will start to mount here as time starts ticking down here in this third quarter. South River putting up another 3, and that one's no good.
So a little bit of an update here from the boys basketball game. Boys against South River here tonight. The Bulldogs are down.
Sam Pfeiffer putting up a 3. Sorry to cut you off, and that one is great. So
what a shot. That's exactly what we need here, Jared.
That is exactly what we need to get going. Sorry to cut you off there, but that was a fantastic 3.
I deserve to be cut off after that. What a great shot there. So just a little bit of an update here from our friend Ike Bush, as you hear a lot here on the Bulldog Report. Boys are down 42-24 after 3 quarters in South River. As we talked about, Grosby, close to 30, as he's averaging over 30 throughout the season.
Sam Pfeiffer puts up another 3, and that one's no good, but right. So the boys are going to South River. The girls are coming to Metuchen. So we see that a lot where the boys and the girls sort of trade places. The boys down 42-24, I think it was. Alex Grosby is something that we were calling, Ike and I were calling, and I think you guys were here too, for that stream, that it was something that we've really never seen before. He was just knocking down 3 after 3, pretty much 100% from the field, something that not necessarily Metuchen's going to have to start doing, but the pressure's going to mount, the time's going to decrease, and they're going to need more and more points here. But they're only down, 9 now? So Vicky Zanecki taking it back under, and they have some chances like that where they're just fighting for the ball and they're not putting up necessarily quality shots. You're not going to take a 3, of course, but you want to get at least some sort of points on the board. South River taking it back up the timeline. Dribbling it around the arc is Madison Metuchen. A possible charge down low, but they won't call it. Caitlin Connors went down on that one, probably looking for an offensive foul. It won't go, and they'll cash in on the layup there. So South River increases their lead to 11. Sam Pfeiffer taking it around over to Caitlin Connors. Back down low to Vicky Zanecki. She puts it up. That one will go for a foul against Vicky Zanecki. That'll be a shooting foul, and she'll go to the line for 2. No fouls yet for the Bulldogs here in this first 5 and change minutes of play in the third quarter. 1 foul for South River.
And this is Vicky's 3rd time here at the stripe today. See if she can. Yeah, there you go. Already a point there.
So something that definitely will need to be cashed in on as we go sort of down the line. And we're getting even more updates from this boys game. Alex Grosby, 11 for 18, with 5 3-pointers. So I can't believe what he's on pace for. His brother was really good. Jeremy, we saw him last year. Alex Grosby, really good. A great pass from Sam Pfeiffer over to Vicky Zanecki. Back down low to Josie Gray. Puts the shot up, and that one's no good. Fighting for it back down under. Over to Ella Polakowski, and back over to Sam Pfeiffer up top. Sam Pfeiffer for 3,
Bang.
and that one's good. Bang!
There's some life. If you were looking for it, there it is. This is what this Bulldogs team is going to need. Cutting the lead to 7. And guess what, Jared? We're right back in it.
This is vintage Sam Pfeiffer so far from what we've seen today. 3 3-pointers already. We've seen some variable 3-point shooting throughout the lineup. We see people that are more tendent to shoot these 3-pointers. We see Sam Pfeiffer, Caitlin Connors, and actually Liana Rodriguez, I want to note. All of her points are from threes. She is a great 3-point shooter. She has only 3-pointers on her stat sheet so far this season. But Sam Pfeiffer, again, great 3 to get us back within 7. But now a layup on the other end will put us back within 9. So this lead seems to be getting cut a little bit, but then South River just kills that momentum. Sam Pfeiffer back out for 3. That one's no good. And you figure why not put it in the hands of your best 3-point shooter around the arc. South River will take it back up now. Bringing it around the arc and settling it down. And there's going to be a timeout by Coach Mike Feaster. They're going to talk some things over, and definitely some things for Metuchen to talk over. But 6 minutes gone by in this third quarter, and they've matched their total first half score. So something we've definitely seen much better so far from the Bulldogs in this third quarter. We'll be back in just a second on the Bulldog Report. Jared Popek on the call with both of the Krumholtz brothers.
But you want to discuss it a little bit? Talk about upcoming stuff.
Yeah.
To be in summer.
Back in action here, and Coach Mike Feaster looks to draw up a little set play to get things in motion, and he does in the backcourt. Sam Pfeiffer back to defend here on the up-top shooter. South River sort of passing it around the arc, and we always see that there's an open man maybe down low that they've looked at, or around the arc that they've put up the 3. Sometimes they've been taking some risky shots, but it's paid off for them so far, so we'll see what they continue to do up 9, or up. Yeah, so there you go. I mean, another 3 there for South River, and I stumbled on my words there as she was shooting that one, but that one's good for South River, so that'll extend their lead to 12 now. Over in the corner to Caitlin Connors, that one's up, and that one's no good, fighting for the rebound down low, but that's, again, Madison Vitucci taking that rebound and bringing it back up.
You know, it's hard to defend from that deep, Jerry, right? So, yeah, you can say whatever you want. You know, it's just making shots, right? So, it's just really great play out of South River. Hopefully, the Bulldogs can kind of slow it down, put up some points of their own, which they've already done here in this first quarter of the new half, third quarter. But you know, just really impressive play out of South River, coming out strong. See if the Bulldogs can do here with a minute and now 5 seconds here in this third quarter.
And we'll see how the bench sort of starts to get worked in, because we've seen how deep Coach Glutz's bench is here for Metuchen, and it's one of the deepest benches that Metuchen basketball has had in recent years. But when the starting five is not at their most reliable state, which they not necessarily haven't been today, we'll start to see some new faces in. We've already seen some faces in, Ava Barris, Charlotte Murphy, and another South River layup. So that one's going to go and extend their lead to 14 now. So they're starting to pull away here at the end of this third quarter. Of course, there's 8 minutes and change here left to go, but Metuchen needs to get points on the board, and this is starting to become urgent. A fight for the ball down low, and they're going to call this a foul on South River, so it'll stay in the hands of Vicky Zanecki down low. Everyone will line up and break apart. Josie Gray down low gets the ball, and it's just been that sort of day for Metuchen so far. What can you really say about that? They've just not been able to capitalize on all the layup opportunities they've gotten inside the paint, and that's been really troublesome for them so far. South River taking it back up the timeline, but again, we're gonna see sort of some more of that bench being worked in, because we have a really deep bench. We have a bunch of bench players that are over 20, 25 points on the year. We have even Sammy Powers, Lucy Pilata, Ava Barish, all coming off the bench. Leah Honig, Liana Rodriguez. A lot of these players that Coach Glutz has used a little bit that you can sort of lean to at the end of this third quarter into the fourth quarter. 2-1-0. That shot's going to go up, it being no good. The buzzer will sound, and that'll be the end of the third quarter. Any thoughts, guys, on the end of this quarter and what they can really do to cut this lead?
I think a lot of it is going to come down to making shots inside the three-point arc. They've taken a lot of shots from three, and those have not always been successful. I think it's best to just keep fighting strong and just trying to score in whatever way you can.
Yeah, I don't want to raise too many alarms here already, but it's getting a little desperate here, down 32-18 with 8 to play in this fourth quarter. We're just gonna need to see a little bit more production, and it's there. You can feel it. We've been given opportunity after opportunity. Eventually, it's gonna fall, right, Jared? It's paying your dues, as we'll say here in the golf world. You're due eventually. So, I'd expect to see the ball in the senior Sam Pfeiffer's hands a lot here in this fourth quarter. It's really gonna have to work through her to get something going. Just hopefully to see a little bit more lockdown D here, and just put up some more points. Just keep at it. You're never out of it here in Metuchen. You're never out of it with this girls basketball team.
So we'll see what Coach Glutz really told her team at the end of that quarter. But, yeah, 8 minutes left to go, and the pressure is definitely mounting. I think Metuchen is due for some points. They've only scored 18 today, but their third quarter total matched both of the first 2 quarters combined in terms of scoring. So they've ramped it up, and if they stay at this pace, well, they could win the game. But you need to see some more scoring and a little less of that three-point shooting and less of the scoring for South River. They've been scoring very well, and they haven't necessarily filled the stat sheet, right? We've seen a 50-point game or a 60-point game where it's really high scoring for either side, but we haven't seen that sort of game, and I think that's just the difference in the game today. Josie Gray putting up a layup, and that one will cut their lead right back down to 14. But their scoring has been so consistent for South River that it hasn't needed to be such a big quantity. Their quality of it has been so good.
And this is where we get to a point that I like to bring up in a lot of losing games, and that is everyone here is trying to make their miracle happen.
Right.
We're not playing with that same mindset of just grind and keep scoring. Everyone wants to be able to shoot that long arc three and those deep shots and get a crazy steal. But what's really necessary is to just keep fighting and keep playing strong. It's not going to – where you make a lot of mistakes in these later parts of the games, are by going for too much.
Right.
Very good golf analogy there, Luke. You know, trying to be the hero, hit the hero shot. You know,
Right.
you just need to kind of play it out, play it safe. As Greg Schiano would say, keep chopping.
And as a player in really any sport you play, you're always going to hear your coach telling you don't try to win the game with one pass or one shot. Like, it takes a whole team to build a lead like this. We see a steal from South River taking it down the baseline, and she'll be fouled. They'll call that one a shooting foul, so she'll go to the line for 2. But we're talking about don't try to win the game with one shot. You're down 14 here, so it's not just going to take one huge three-pointer or one crazy, long pass, full court pass. It's going to take a lot of these simple shots and these good passing layups that Metuchen's going to really, really have to capitalize on in these last 6.5 minutes if we want to see a win here for the Bulldogs.
Little Greg Schiano shout out. You like that?
Caitlin Connors taking it back on Metuchen's offensive end. Vicky Zanecki down low, back out to Caitlin Connors. Over to Charlotte Murphy, and in is Sammy Powers, the freshman. Back out to Caitlin Connors. She puts up the 3, and that one's no good. Back down to Lucy Pilata, and that one will also be no good. So Metuchen just not capitalizing on their shots, and they haven't necessarily all year. They've missed shots under the basket, but the problem is they either rebound or get fouled, or the offensive rebounding really is the thing to highlight because they're able to get 4 chances at a shot every offensive possession. It's something that you don't really see in really college or pro basketball. It's something that you can see in high school basketball if you have one really tall or really athletic player that can get offensive rebounds. So South River will collect this one back out after the foul shot and take it back up the timeline. Putting up the 3, this one's no good for South River, and they'll take it right back in favor of Metuchen. It's been a lot on that side of the court recently. It's been back and forth, but we just haven't seen the quality of scoring for Metuchen as we have for South River. It hasn't been a high-scoring game, but it's been a very high-quality scoring game here for South River. For Metuchen, not as much. So we're going to have to see a little bit more work here from Metuchen if they want to bring it within a couple here in these last 5 minutes. Sammy Powers putting up the shot, and that one will fall. So 22-35 now, and they're starting to creep in, but there's still a lot more work to do in this Metuchen gym. Another steal there from Caitlin Connors, and you're thinking, like, if they capitalize here, Caitlin Connors putting up the shot, Sammy Powers down low, if they capitalize there, does the ship start to turn, right? Does the momentum start to shift? Not there, so South River will take it back on their end, and we've seen how threatening they can be. We'll see how threatening they are here in this attack. And again, Madison Vitucci putting up the shot, and that one will fall. So it seems that every bit of work Metuchen has done so far, South River has just erased. Coach Glutz is going to take a timeout and talk some things over. We'll talk some things over in the broadcast booth as well about how this game's going to end. Jared Popek on the call with Jacob and Luke Krumholz. We'll be right back.
This is where Ike and I would start taking over in beds. The problem is our mics were hot one time and we accidentally bed. And you could hear us indistinctly in the background saying now Metuchen knows. Try to open this door rather than we could bring it into us at the beginning.
Great basketball. This girl seems so good. It's just gotta get some scores.
Ball is not going.
How many problems? Where's the 21 Savage? There's plenty of problems with that. down for the Bills. A lot.
Yeah.
No, really not a lot.
It's actually
We've looked
only
great. We've really looked
It's
awesome.
only
It's
one,
just we
and
gotta
it's just-
score. Gotta score.
I will say. Oh my god. We're back.
Back in action here for the final 4.5 minutes of play. Caitlin Connors putting up the three, and that one's no good. Sammy Powers dribbling it back down to Josie Gray and back out to Sam Pfeiffer. She'll put this three up, seeming like it's really desperate here for Metuchen, and South River will take it back up the timeline. This one's a fast break. Sammy Powers back to defend, and she fouls Ashley Pereira, and this one will go to line for two. So it seems that, Metuchen has just not been able to do it on either end of the floor. They've looked good. They have looked good, but the problem is the score sheet just does not resemble that, and in this game, it's really only the wins that matter. PowerPoints, we were talking a little bit about. If you're confused on how PowerPoints were, I was very, very confused when I was first interested in it. It all depends on the size of the school, the quality of the win, and I believe if it was home or away, I think matters too. I forget what it is, but PowerPoint, you get different PowerPoints based on how good your wins were. And, for example, losing to a team like this, but killing a really bad team looks similar in terms of PowerPoints. So Caitlin Connors putting in the layup, and this one will start to bring the lead back in. But PowerPoints are very confusing, and it's important to rack up. They'll probably get some good PowerPoints just for playing a team like South River here, but they're playing Spotswood as well, which also carries a lot of PowerPoints. They beat both of those teams earlier this year, which gave them a lot of PowerPoints, and that's why they sit third in the entire Central Jersey Group 2 for high schools for their PowerPoints. A little injury timeout here on the floor. Coach Mike Feaster will take a look at his player here down on the court, but 3:39 left to go. Metuchen is still looking good, and they have a 7-1 division record. Spotswood only has a 4-2 division record, so let's say that what is resembled on the score sheet finishes, right? South River becomes 5-2, and Metuchen will become 8-2, 7-2. So we have still a little gap. We have a 2-game gap, but that's only because we have, I believe, 3 or 4 games in hand. Metuchen has played a lot more games. Coach Glutz likes to pack the schedule and not have as many breaks in the schedule. And this 8-game winning streak we were looking at, and you're thinking, like, how many PowerPoints did this really help them out, or how quality were these wins? And you have teams in there that, honestly, you beat up on, right? You have the bottom 4 really in the GMC Blue that you just annihilated, but you had some really quality wins in there. You had Carteret was a really quality win. You played them twice. You had a 2-game series with Carteret. They're currently 4th place at 7-4, so they're also knocking on the door. Metuchen won both of those, so that's really going to help them. We look down Somerset Tech, of course. J.P. Stevens gave them a lot of power. That was a huge win for them. Rahway was a big win. So some big wins in there in that 8-game win streak. It looks like, unfortunately, I'm going to say it here, this streak is probably going to be snapped if this game
that's
ends.
too early of a call, Jared. 3 minutes, 34 seconds. Only down 15. I still have a little bit of hope for this.
Listen, anything can happen, right?
I'm hoping for a little commentator's curse here tonight.
Right, so let's hope the commentator's curse works in our favor. Sammy Powers down low, and that one's no good, but it's just been that type of night for the Bulldogs. Haven't been too good shooting, and they've taken a lot of chances. Sam Pfeiffer goes down really hard there. Sammy Powers helping her up, but it's just been that type of night, unfortunately, for the Bulldogs. Vicky Zanecki taking it back up, and she had a free look in at net. They'll call this a blocking foul, or a charging foul. That was questionable there, but that's going to go back in the direction of South River. Really not much else you could do if you're looking at Vicky Zanecki driving down the lane like that, and that was really the only thing that could have worked for South River besides Metuchen scoring some points.
Really great job there by South River forcing that, that charge, but, still some time left here for the Bulldogs. 3 minutes, only down 15. There's a lot of hope left, Jared.
There really is, and the ball security on, let's say, on both sides has not been perfect today. So, you know, they have come away with steals. Metuchen has come away with steals. We'll talk things over though and see how this game really ends. Coach Gletz is definitely talking to her team about what, I mean, scoring. That's really all you can talk about. I
That's all
mean,
you've been talking about today.
yeah, it's
plan.
all we could talk about because Metuchen has not really scored much. There's been very, very few games where they've scored this little. They've scored 31 against Spotswood, 33 against Bernards, and 23 against Governor Livingston. That was their lowest scoring affair, but they have not. They have won games, and they have not been below 45 points so far this season. So if they score 45, that's pretty much a recipe for victory so far for Metuchen. They're not going to get that today, and evidently they might fall. So we'll take a little break while both teams talk some things over. In the broadcast booth, we're on the Bulldog Report.
Talk to that camera. Because right now we can't see it.
Now we need to
If you go right in the middle of us, you'll see me.
probably
I would go back further too.
You know, I hate to say it, but I miss Lieber. Helped with the mics.
Yeah.
You see everybody?
Final 2.5 minutes and change here on the Bulldog Report, and Metuchen not necessarily looking too good right now.
It's sad to see because the Bulldogs have been playing really great basketball today. It's just things did not fall, and that's the issue they ran into. They played solid on defense. They made a lot of good steals, a lot of good rebounds, but balls just would not go in.
And you can't really point the finger at any one person. You can't say, oh, like, you know, one player really caused all of this, because the whole team, honestly, it just wasn't their day. You can't say it was because of this. It was because of, I mean, Sam Pfeiffer putting in another basket, and that will be 39-26 now. But, I mean, you can't draw the reason of this loss to one thing. I feel like it really just wasn't their day. And South River is a very, very respectable team where, of course, they're going to be very tough to play, even at home in an atmosphere like this. South River taking it back around now, and with a game like this, there's no shot clock in high school, so they could really hold this for the rest of the 2 minutes. Metuchen, of course, won't let them do it, but we're going to start to see some possession here from South River trying to retain this lead. Ella Polakowski a little mixed up on that play, but Sam Pfeiffer will retain it and bring it back up the timeline. They'll call that a travel on Sam Pfeiffer, and that will go back in the direction of South River.
It's just like those ticky-tacky mistakes, you know, just very little minuscule. They add up a little bit, you know, and that's what we're seeing here tonight. It's just, you know, a shot doesn't fall there. It doesn't matter. The next one's got to go in. It seems to just carry it a little bit. Just coming out a little slow, stayed a little slow.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's something that they just couldn't really get going. We've talked about it a little bit today, but it's something that we're talking about that Metuchen just couldn't really get on their front foot. And I feel like you can't just say like the first quarter was the only reason why they couldn't do it today, because yeah, the first quarter wasn't as respectable. They only scored 4, but they only scored 5 in the second, 9 in the third. So Metuchen hasn't been on their front foot at all. Lucy Pilata taking this one back up, fouled as she goes up. And that one's going to go to the charity stripe with 1 minute and 22 seconds remaining. On the foul line is Lucy Pilata going up for 2. Her first one does not fall, and that one will go right back in the hands of Metuchen. So something we haven't seen a lot today is an offensive rebound. We get one here. So let's see if Metuchen can cash in on some last points. Vicky Zanecki going up, and that one will be good. So they cut the lead to 10, and I guess you could say never, right? So let's see what they can do. A steal there from Metuchen, and we're starting to see a little bit of life. Caitlin Connors puts up the 3. That one is good! Bang! So Metuchen is crawling
away.
back. As crazy as it sounds, I think Mike Feaster might have taken a timeout there. Coach Glutz, I'm not sure what they're calling here. They're calling this foul shots on South River. I didn't exactly see the play. I didn't know if she got shaken up, but
Shooting 1-1.
she's shooting 1-on-1 here. So South River, I mean, this was quite the surge from Metuchen. They were down 15, and now they're down 7. So you
Kinda
could
crazy little stretch there.
say never, but 51.3 seconds left, down by 8. It's always possible. You're gonna start to see some clock management, right, from Coach Glutz. We see it more in football, right, where you're taking timeouts and stuff, but it's a little different in basketball. Lucy Pilata shaken up there on a pass that came rocketing into her, and that wasn't necessarily her problem or her fault there that she lost that ball. Going back in the direction of South River, and Coach Mike Feaster is going to take a timeout. 33.0 on the clock, 33 seconds left, 40-32 in favor of South River. Does Metuchen have a little more life to bring this back and try and tie this game? 30 seconds left. We'll take a little break inside the broadcast booth. Jared Popek on the call with Jacob and Luke Krumholz.
When did they score?
You were looking the other way, but they actually, they brought it, they got a layup, then a steal, then a 3, then, I guess a layup before that.
That's crazy.
I think it's not a loop.
Where is it? Do we know where it is at all? Is it going with Rufus?
Where?
No, it's not.
Wait, what are you?
This is going with Rufus.
What are you?
The lube.
It's in there.
You don't have to.
Bulldog report, and it turns out we have no time.
Bringing you the final 33 seconds of action here. We're at a little bit of a standstill trying to get things going. South River is about to inbound the ball, and we'll see if Metuchen can come away with a steal, something that might be really, really necessary here in the final 33 seconds if they can get a steal and bring it back down the other end and get some points. Metuchen definitely making some things interesting here. Caitlin Connors bringing it back up the timeline. She doesn't have much time. 20 seconds still ticking down on the clock. She's got to put up a shot here if she wants a chance. Sam Pfeiffer out in the corner. 13, 12, 11. Not much of a chance left here. And that was, I don't want to call it a waste of time, but time could have been managed better there. Sam Pfeiffer going to the foul line, so she still has a chance to cash in on 2, but with only 10 seconds left now, I think you can say that the little light we had there for about a minute is dwindling because Metuchen seems to be out of this one. Unfortunately, this is going to be a loss for Metuchen. That's going to snap their 8-game win streak, something that we saw last year. Metuchen actually had an 8-game win streak last year as well, and they finished 18-9, so they sort of crawled into the playoffs a little bit, and they lost in the first round of states and GMC is something that Coach Glutz is going to try and do a little bit better on this year, of course. They're starting out much better. They're already 10-3, but 4-3. Sam Pfeiffer's going to put up the 3. That one will be no good, and South River will carry this ball away. Buzzer sounds in the Metuchen gym, and let's bring it inside the broadcast booth a little bit here for the rest of this little broadcast we have going. 0 seconds left on the clock, and that will just about do it. We guys all ready here? So inside the broadcast booth, 32-40 was your final score from the Metuchen gym. What did you guys think about that matchup?
I think that the Bulldogs, they fought hard. Not everything was falling for them. They did a really good job of bringing it back in for the final minutes of the game, and it was it was a hard fight.
No, it just really, it was a hard fight, especially there at the end. Really brought it back in, which was impressive. Like 8 points in what, like
Right. So
20 so seconds.
that was a little bit of light that we saw from Metuchen that we hadn't seen all game. It really got started to get close there, and you know, looking ahead, Metuchen's gonna want to use some more of those surges to help them extend these leads and get into the winning column, because Metuchen, when they are winning, have scored a lot of points. They've scored 45 plus points, 50 points, even 60 in a couple games. But looking ahead, you have Woodbridge remaining. You have Spotswood. So these are two very tough games coming up for them. Woodbridge is home on Saturday. That will also be live streamed on the Bulldog Report. You have Cavalry Christian coming up. That one should be a win. Highland Park should also be a win. Perth Amboy is a tough game. This is just looking down the line and almost to the end of the schedule here, but more games get scheduled down the lines. We know Coach Collette's likes to pack the schedule because sort of that routine schedule gets them going. New Brunswick and Somerset Tech, so those should both be wins as well. I see the ceiling of this team can honestly be, let's say, 5 losses total.
I can see it very easily.
Yeah, right.
Really,
So
really impressive team this year.
I think that they can do something very special here, and hopefully they can start to make a playoff run. If things are the way they are right now, we could be calling a NJSIAA tournament game. We could be calling a states game here in the Metuchen gym. They are currently the 3 seed in their division in state rankings. But for now, on the Bulldog Report, this was South River versus Metuchen basketball. Jacob Krumholz, Luke Krumholz, and myself, Jared Popek, on the call. You were watching the Bulldog Report, 40-32 loss. We'll see you next time.